Good day, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today, and welcome to this webinar in which you will learn all about the certification of hybrid PLC and RF devices. Exactly 1 year ago, in February 2020, the G3 PLC Alliance decided to develop the first open standard for hybrid PLC and RF communication. So we are very pleased that we can now already welcome you to this session about the hybrid certification, and welcome so many of our members to this webinar today. My name is Leon Vergeer, and I'm the General Secretary of the G3 PLC Alliance. And today we have all the experts available for you to explain everything you want to know about G3 PLC certification. First of all, there is Madeleine Francillard from Trialog, who is the chair of the certification committee in our alliance. Thierry Dolliger, director from Landpark, our test lab in France. Present in the call is also Olivier Genest from Trialog, who has developed the test methodology and the test procedures for the hybrid. Yannick Huck, also from Trialog, who worked intensively with the technical working group in the Alliance to define and implement all the tests we use in the certification. And Vincent Buchou from Landpark, who played a major role in developing the test setup together with Tam Tran from Truth, which is our test lab in Japan. And also with us today is Marc Delandre, the chairman of the G3 PLC Alliance. So we should be able to answer any questions you may have today. So what is the agenda for today's session? Madeleine and Thierry will start by giving an update of the G3 PLC certification program. So what are the objectives, what has been achieved, and how can you get certified in general? Then secondly, Olivier and Vincent will explain everything about the hybrid certification, the tests, the test procedures, and how the testing is done in the labs. And after that, we should still have time to answer all questions you may still have about the certification program. So if you have any questions during the presentations, please let us know by using the question box in the control panel of the GoToWebinar system. Then we will try to address your question at the end of the webinar. We will share the presentation as well as the recording with everybody participating in this session after the webinar. So that's the introduction, and then Madeleine, I want to hand over to you to start with the first point of the agenda.
Okay. Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon. First of all, a brief reminder of why do we need a certification program and how do you implement it. Once a communication protocol has been specified, it is very important that the user and vendor had to give to the user and vendor assurance that their devices are, first of all, compliant with the specification, then interoperable with other certified devices and meet the specified performance level. To achieve this goal, the Alliance has developed tools and procedures, and they have selected also 2 laboratories to conduct the G3 PLC certification test. One is in France, Landmark, and the other one is in Japan, the TÜV Rheinland. And the Alliance selected also a trialogue to operate the interoperability plugfest at Paris. The vendors and users can choose either Landmark or TÜV Rheinland to be certified. The certification process will be exactly the same. Next slide, please, Leon. Since the beginning of the certification in 2014, we developed the certification for 4 macro versions: Senelec A, Japan Metering Route B, FCC multiprocessors, and Senelec B. In 2020, the Alliance decided to develop the G3 PLC Hybrid PLC&RF, which meets the need of the market by combining the power line and the radio frequency technology. G3 PLC Hybrid PLC&RF is an optional feature of G3 PLC technology. It is a superset of G3 PLC technology. And it can be added to certification profile Senelec A, FCC, and Senelec B. Olivier will give you an overview of the hybrid certification process, and the labs and Leland will explain how to conduct the test for hybrid in their lab. Next slide, please, Leon. And this graph shows how many devices have been certified since the beginning of the certification in 2014. The number is constantly increased since the beginning. As you can see, the ARIB is stable since the beginning. The Senelec A, the blue one, has a majority, but the FCC is catching up also, and the yellow shows the Senelec B. It is used essentially by Italy for railways application. Now I will give the floor to Thierry, who will explain how to get certified. So,
yeah, thank you, Madeleine. So hello, everybody. Let me now remind you the G3 PLC certification process from the original initial request from the manufacturer to the delivery of the certificate. So these slides provide an overview of the main task and main documents exchanged between the manufacturer, the authorized certification laboratory, and the G3 PLC Alliance throughout the overall certification process. So this process is generic for the classic G3 PLC certification and for the certification of hybrid solutions. This is a summary of the G3 PLC certification process document you can find on the Alliance website. So the tasks devoted to the G3 PLC to the manufacturer are shown on the top of the diagram, so the line in blue. The tasks devoted to the certification laboratory are in the middle, so the line in yellow, and the tasks devoted to the G3 PLC Alliance are in the bottom of the diagram, the line in green. Documents exchanged between the actors are shown in orange. So there are basically 3 phases towards certification. So Leon, please click one time. Yeah, so the first phase is related to the preparation of the certification. There is one very important document, which is the application form, which summarizes your request, the platform or the product you want to certify, the targeted macro version, and some information necessary for the alliance to confirm that you fulfill all the necessary prerequisites for certification. So this is a very important document to be completed at the earliest stage of the process. In case certification are required by the alliance, or in case one or the other of the prerequisites is not met, it may take time to fix the difficulties which could impact your overall planning. So after confirming the manufacturer can apply for certification, the alliance will also send a logo agreement to the manufacturer, which will have to be signed before the delivery of the certificate. The following tasks up to the delivery of the certificate are between the laboratory and the manufacturer. This includes the commercial agreement, the scheduling of the test, the exchange of technical information, including PICS and PICSIT documents, and the delivery of 2 samples for test. So now you can click this one time. So now we are in the second phase, which concerns the certification tests themselves. Optional pretest can be organized between the manufacturer and the laboratory. Pretest could be of great interest if you have some doubt on the maturity of your implementation, or if you want to determine the peaks of the product, or if you want to evaluate the improvement or solve any potential issue on your solution prior to the official certification test. For debugging purposes, labs are proposing remote sessions, which helps you to get traces from your equipment during the test and to analyze any behavior requiring technical improvements. When the solution is ready for certification, the laboratory performs a full certification test and communicates all the results to the manufacturer. So Leon, please click. The final steps towards certification consist in completing a certification confirmation form to be signed by both the manufacturer and the laboratory. This CCF is then sent to the alliance, who deliver the certificate and publish the certified product on the certification directory of the alliance website. So Leo, next slide, please. So to summarize, there are 4 major documents that will have to be produced by the manufacturer for and during the certification process: the application form, the PICS and PICSIT, the certification confirmation form, and the logo agreement. Leon, next slide. All the documents related to G3 PLC certification, all the documentation, related to the G3 PLC certification is available on the private area of the G3 PLC website. When you log on the G3 PLC website and go to the menu dedicated to G3 PLC certification, you can access to all the documents in force for G3 PLC certification. The certification program and the certification test procedure are listed on the G3 PLC certification program page. The test suits are available on the G3 PLC certification test page. These documents are regularly updated, taking into account all the decisions from the CPEC group. So they are extremely detailed and precise. I would really encourage you to read them carefully and to regularly check that you have the latest up-to-date versions. The published versions are the one in force for certification, the ones that are used by the labs during the certification test. So they are all today reflecting all the evolution related to the new hybrid certification. Leon, next slide. So let's now move to the second part of this webinar. Olivier, I leave you the microphone.
Yes, thank you, Thierry. Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon. So as a first part, I will remind what is the hybrid G3 PLC and also what are the main principles of the G3 PLC certification. So can you move next? Okay, so starting from the beginning, in the world of smart metering, there has always been a competition between the PLC technologies, but also between PLC and other technologies such as RF to establish which technology is the best to cover the use case, depending on the grid topology, if it's in dense area or in rural area. And today, the approach chosen by the G3 PLC Alliance is to promote the complementarity of the technology instead of the competition. And that's why we developed a hybrid PLC plus RF technology that would allow to benefit from both the PLC strengths and the radio frequency strengths. So the main principle is quite simple. It is to build a hybrid mesh network in which each link could be negotiated dynamically to use either PLC or RF, depending on which link is the best. So this hybrid technology is based on 802.15.4, which is a well-known RF standard, and offers a backup link to the main communication technology, which remains G3 PLC. And it will allow to maximize the coverage and the resilience of the communication network. So all this medium selection, I mean PLC or RF, is done automatically, meaning that you don't have to worry about explicitly stating which one you prefer to use, and it will be done automatically for each link. The enhancement that I offered by this hybrid approach will allow to support new use cases that could go beyond smart metering, and for example, also the ability to connect devices from different grid, meaning that cannot be reached with G3 PLC directly. The detailed specification of these hybrid profiles have been published on the G3 PLC Alliance website for their members in April 2020, and it remains fully backward compatible with the G3 PLC only networks. Next slide, please. So here, this diagram shows the communication stack. In this diagram, you can see the three existing G3 PLC layers. I mean the PHY G3, the MAC G3, and the 6LoWPAN, and also the new PHY and MAC for radio frequency that are included in the stack and integrated through this hybrid abstraction layer that allows the 6LoWPAN to either use PLC or RF. To be able to do this, the 6LoWPAN has been modified, in particular for the routing and bootstrap, in order to include this ability to support both RF or PLC. This 802.15.4 RF PHY layer uses a single FSK carrier, which is called Mod 1, within the 863-870 MHz range. So it could be extended in the future. Next slide. So to develop this G3 PLC hybrid certification we are presenting today, first the workshop one, which is a technical group, has worked on the specification of the hybrid profile. So this first specification of the profile has been released in April 2020. And then inside workshop 3, which is about interoperability and preparing the certification test, the workshop 3 has organized a plug fest to validate and demonstrate the interoperability of 5 hybrid implementation. So this was done in June 2020. Then workshop 3 has also developed the test specification for the hybrid features. I mean, all the tests I mentioned earlier, to be used by the hybrid certification program. And finally, the CPEC, which is a certification program executive committee, together with certification labs, I mean LAN and TÜV Rheinland, they have developed the test tools and the test setup that will support this hybrid test, and also adapted the certification test procedures accordingly. Next slide. So here you can see the scope of this G3 PLC hybrid certification. So we are using the 150 PLC tests that already exist, and you can see in green in this diagram. And we have added a few new tests to test each of the new layers. So for the PHY layer, as we did for PLC, we decided to use a black box approach, meaning that we have this one-to-one IoT test setup in which we are impersonating each device to negotiate the link between the two devices, which is the DUT, the device under test, and the reference device. And it is a way to validate the interoperability between this reference device and the DUT without having any internal connection. So we have 2 tests to be able to validate this PHY layer currently. And then we have this MAC RF G3, which is similar to what we had for PLC. So we adapted the relevant test from MAC G3 PLC MAC, and in order to make them compliant with the G3 PLC MAC layer for RF. So these are about 30 new tests. And finally, we have included some new conformances that will not test RF or PLC separately, but will test both at the same time, in particular to check the good behavior of the hybrid abstraction layer, but also to check the routing and the bootstrapping. Next slide, please. So the G3 PLC hybrid certification program is based on 3 main principles. The first one, which is quite important, is that the G3 PLC hybrid certification is a superset of the PLC-only certification. As you can see in the diagram, the hybrid certification takes the same test as the PLC-only certification. So we can see them on the left with this exact same test for the PLC part, PHY and MAC. And for 6 Open, we are using the same test, plus we are adding some new tests for the hybrid behavior. And in addition, we are adding some RF specific tests for the PHY and MAC, which are currently conformance and one-to-one IoT, and possibly in the future we can add performance. And for that, we already launched a task force within the G3 PLC Alliance that gathers all the experts from both Workshop 1 and Workshop 3 to work on defining the needs and the coverage and the possible tests that we'll have in the future for the RF performance. As you see here also, the PLC part remains the core of the certification and cannot be excluded. So we have this hybrid certification just adds something but does not remove anything from the PLC certification. Next slide, please. So the second main principle that we have is that each new hybrid platform or product will require full testing, as it is the case for PLC, and even if the product includes the exact same RF lower layers and communication paths as a certificate or the certified platform. So this was right because we know that for RF we could have like communication modules that are provided by platform manufacturers and can be directly integrated into the product. But still, we believe that we really need to do the full testing to validate the proper integration and behavior of the of this RF module into the hybrid product, as all these RF, PLC, and hybrid layers are very well integrated. So also as a consequence of this main principle, we have this table on the bottom that shows what are the requirements for a certified product, to certify a product based on the fact that it has to be based on a certified platform. So what we see is that a PLC-only product may be based either on a hybrid certified platform or a PLC-only certified platform. However, a hybrid product must be based on a hybrid certified platform, and you cannot certify a hybrid product if the platform has only been certified for PLC. Next slide, please. So finally, this third principle drives the retest procedures, which are the rules to apply in case a certified platform or product is modified, and to define which tests have to be run again to certify the modified device. So for platforms, we are using the same retest procedure as the one that we had for PLC only, and we are just applying it to RF also, and considering that the G3 PLC stack, which are mentioned in the test procedures, covers both the RF and PLC and hybrid parts. For the products, we had to include new elements to support the case that we have a PLC only certified product that is willing to be hybrid certified. So we have, in such case, we have the case where the PLC or the RF hardware have been modified, and then it is considered that both PLC and RF performances might be impacted. So we really need to do a full testing of the device because of the hardware change. So this hardware change also applies to the case where we had a PCB on which some components were not populated, and now we are populating this part of this PCB, or also if we are including a daughter board to add this RF connectivity. Also, in line with the existing procedures, in case the software has been updated to include this hybrid feature, we will have to do a full retesting of the product. But finally, we have the case where there has not been any hardware change. I mean, the components were already there, And the activation of the hybrid feature is only due to a parameter. So if you look at the hybrid certification, there is a parameter that allows to activate or deactivate this RF connectivity with this hybrid behavior. And in case the only change is that this parameter has been modified, but there has not been any software update, the PLC one-to-one IoT and the PLC performance test could be skipped. But of course, you will have to run the one-to-one IoT for RF because it's new. You will have also to run all this hybrid tests, and also you will have to run the conformant for both PLC and RF and hybrid, because we need to make sure that the integration of this hybrid abstraction layer has not broken anything on the PLC part. So that's the main principle of the G3 PLC hybrid certification test procedure that will be published on the website when the certification will be released. And in case you have any question, of course, you will be able to ask them first at the end of this webinar, and also likely by contacting the CPA Corley. So now I will let Vincent go into the test setups, I guess.
Thank you so much, Olivier, for this clear and bright overview of the G3 PLC hybrid certification. Let's go through the test setup for hybrid conformance first. So first, please keep in mind that hybrid conformance tests are performed in a test setup in which both PLC and RF communications are taking place. This is thus an hybrid test setup with PLC and RF. In this hybrid test setup, the legacy PLC test setup is used for G3 PLC conformance, just like G3 PLC conformance, and is consisting in LISNs, line impedance stabilization networks, and 50 ohm coax lines. So this part of the legacy test setup is used to carry all the PLC communication, and this is in green in the figure you can see on the screen. So the RF part of the test setup, which carries the RF communications, uses two RF chambers, radio frequency chambers. This is to protect the implementation and the test, and also the RF tester modem from unwanted interferences, especially those from other radio services like 4G LTE from mobile communications. Also, please note that the implementation and the test signaling is done via an antenna-to-antenna coupling inside the IoT. So next slide, please. Next slide, please.
Coming up.
Thank you, Leon. So now let's review the test setup for RF one-to-one IoT testing. In this test setup first, no PLC signal is exchanged. This is important to remind. So no PLC setup is needed. This setup is used actually to implement pure RF tests. Especially, it allows RF communications. To allow RF communications, three RF chambers are used. One for, sorry, I think I have an issue with my headphones. So three RF chambers are used, one for each device, one chamber for the tester, one chamber for the IoT, the implementation of the test, and one for the RD device. These chambers ensure clean RF isolation between all the devices and also from the unwanted signals from the outside, basically interferences. So in this setup also, the implementation on the test and the RD devices transmit and receive their RF signals through an antenna-to-antenna coupling, and they couple their signal to coax cables that runs between all the chambers. These SMI wireline cables transport the RF signal from each chamber to the others. Also, there is an automatic switching commutator based on 4 individual SP2T switches, compatible with frequencies going from DC to 5 GHz. And this switching commutator is with SMA ports and allows to isolate either the implementation of the test or the RD device. And then we have a power divider also, which is here to aggregate and spread all the RF signals towards the RF modem. So now I will leave the floor to Madeleine again.
Anything you want to say about this slide?
Yes, sorry, I forgot this one. So this is actually a picture of the test setup we've been implementing for the IoT RF hybrid certification. So basically, you have all the 3 chambers for the DUT, RD, and tester, and also you can see the PLC, G3 PLC test setup with LISNs, so the legacy one that is used also in conformance hybrid certification. Thank you. So Madeleine will have the floor now, I believe.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. It is the last slide of the presentation. It is the planning of the next steps of the certification for hybrid. Until now, what have we done already? First of all, as said by Olivier, there were 5 manufacturers, international platform manufacturers, who passed with success the plug fest at Trialog in June. Then the hybrid specification has been published on the website. The test tool and the test suite have been released to the test labs for validation. And what we are doing now, the final validation of test setup by the test lab are ongoing. The test procedure will soon be published for members on the website. So you have the website link, and newcomers PlugFest will open together with the hybrid certification. And the hybrid certification will officially open very soon. We plan to open it in mid-March. And we have also set up a task force for hybrid performance testing to analyze the needs of the user in terms of performance. And we plan for the next 2 years 2 new releases, one with at the end of this year or at the beginning of next year, which will include the PLC enhancement, because we have not issued any release since 2 years for the PLC. And maybe it will also include some performance feature depending on the result of the task force. And at the end of 2020, we will release a new certification tool, and with additional RF frequency and frequency hopping. It is a very big program for certification, and it was not very easy to issue this hybrid, and the Alliance is very proud that it has been done so fast during this 2020 year, which was an exceptional year. Okay, I let Leon then open the session about question and answer.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madeleine, and thank you to all the presenters. It was a lot of information you got in this half-an-hour presentation, so a lot of information to digest. But as mentioned, all these procedures and tests are described in the test procedures document, and that will be published as soon as we officially open the certification program. So you can read it again all there. And like I mentioned before, we will of course share the presentation of this webinar with all of you. And I have to thank all the presenters because they did an amazing job by making the presentation exactly in the time frame we planned. So that means we have sufficient time to look at questions you still want to be answered. So if you've not entered your questions yet, please enter them in the question box on the tool. So I see quite some questions there coming up already. One of the questions is, in addition to the 5 manufacturers who passed the Plugfest in 2020, are there any other manufacturers who offer hybrid solutions? Well, to briefly answer that, for the platform manufacturers, the same procedures apply as for the PLC-only certifications. So that means that platform manufacturers who have not yet passed the interoperability Plugfest at Trialog in 2020, they need to participate in this interoperability Plugfest organized by Trialog. And after that, they can apply for the platform certification process, and their certificates will be published on the G3 PLC website. So new platform manufacturers still they need to go through Plugfest organized by Trialog, and that Plugfest will open at the same time as we open the certification program. So I hope that answers that question. There was a question from South America, from Brazil specifically. Will the RF part support frequency hopping and the 950 megahertz band with frequency hopping? Olivier, maybe you can say something on that in addition to what Madeleine already explained.
Yes, sorry. So you meant about which frequency band we are supporting and what will be in the future?
Yeah, there was a specific question about the frequency band for Brazil, 915 megahertz with frequency hopping. Yes.
So currently we are supporting, as I mentioned, only a single FSK carrier within the 863, 870 megahertz band. So there will be some discussion first inside workshop 1 to decide which additional bands should be supported, still with one single FSK carrier, but also it may require that in the future we had behavior such as frequency hopping, so we can support a large band instead of a single carrier. So this still have to be decided on workshop 1 side, and once it will be ready, then we'll be able to upgrade the test setups and the test procedures to support these new bands.
Yeah. And what I know from workshop 1 is that they have a first meeting already next week to talk about this. And I've seen quite a wide range of frequencies they plan to add to the specification and the certification program. So I'm quite sure that this specific frequency will also be included. Another question, Thierry, maybe you can help a little bit with that one. From your experience, how long does it take from the first step of the certification process until the final certificate issuing itself?
So this question really depends of the maturity of the solution. So from our past experience regarding to G3 PLC only product, when it is the first time certification, usually it is I can say at least 1 month, and most of the time it's 2 months, especially if we have to if we include also all the preparation and the application form, if there are some clarification required, etc. So usually you have to anticipate at least 2 months in advance, or at least 1 month to anticipate the test session, and then 1 month to finalize all the test. If the solution is mature and you anticipate your test session, it can be done within 2 weeks. But it is for companies that are already experienced certification and have very mature solutions. For the hybrid solution, maybe it depends really also if it's for product or for platform. For platform manufacturer, usually it's a little bit it's quicker. For product manufacturers, yes, I can say it's a minimum of 2 months.
And Thierry, can you say anything about the additional time which will be required in the certification testing to include the hybrid functionality?
So yes,
an idea about that.
Yeah, so of course, yeah, for the RF part, so as explained before, so there are additional tests that have been included. So some performance tests and some interoperability, one-to-one interoperability tests also. So the additional effort to cover this test, it's one additional test. So basically, regarding the running of the tests themselves, it's one more day. So it has no big impact on the overall planning. Maybe for the first time, if there are some improvement or some issue and correction to be done, maybe you will have to anticipate a little bit more time. But if your solution is mature enough, and there is only one run of test, it's one more day. And this is both for platforms and for products.
Yeah. Maybe there are some more questions I will address. So maybe all the presenters can open their microphone of their camera, so the participants can see when you answer the question. Maybe. Thank you, Thierry. One question in line with the question from the previous question, I think, what will be the cost for the hybrid certification? So I think Thierry already answered a little bit about that. So for the cost of the certification, the agreement, the contract for the certification is a commercial arrangement between the manufacturer and the certification test lab. And we have 2 certification test labs, one in France and one in Japan, of course. So manufacturers can choose which test lab they want to do the certification. Both labs can do all band plans and provide all the testing required for the certification. So the cost is a contractual arrangement between the manufacturer and the test lab you choose. We will set maximum fees each lab can charge for a clean run of all these certification tests. and we will discuss that very soon in the certification committee of the Alliance. But like Thierry already mentioned, the additional time on top of the PLC testing will be roughly 1 additional day of testing. So to give an idea about the certification, let me see. And a question maybe I don't think you addressed specifically, Olivier. Can we also certify RF only devices?
Yes, so I mentioned that PLC remains the main communication technology for G3 PLC Alliance. So we cannot remove PLC, meaning that the certification is either for PLC only device or for hybrid device, but we cannot certify RF only device.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to stick with you, Olivier, for the next question. Will there be changes in the layers above 6LoWPAN in a hybrid solution comparing to PLC only solutions?
So from the upper layers perspective, it's fully transparent. We are still addressing some data to the 6LoWPAN, but the 6LoWPAN will decide either to use PLC or RF for each of the links, for each of the direct connection to do the routing. And mainly the only possible change would be related to the fact that we have some additional parameters in the RF and hybrid stack, and that maybe in your application layer you will need to also control these new parameters.
Yeah, I hope that answers. Thank you, Olivier. A question about the specification. Is the current testing based on the 2017 G3 specification plus the RF profile? And will there be a newer version of the standard coming soon? Madeleine addressed that already a little bit. Madeleine, do you want to add something to that? I think Madeleine already explained that the opening of the certification will be based on the 2017 G3 PLC spec.
Yeah. And then the next, we are some enhancement for PLC is waiting to be certified, and they will be certified in the next release of the tools at the end of this year or beginning of next year.
Yeah, so end of this year there will be an update of the PLC part of the certification.
As I said before, maybe it will be, it depends if we add also some performance for radio frequency, then maybe it will be, the new release will be next year. It depends of the task force on performance, which has been set up this year, at the end of this, at the beginning of this year.
Yeah, thank you, Madeleine. Another question about the certificate. Thierry, I am gonna ask you to help with that one. If I get a G3 PLC hybrid certificate, does it also mean I get a G3 PLC pure certificate?
Yes.
Since hybrid is a superset of.
Yes, as Olivier explained, I think. Yes, as Olivier explained, we can also adjust the parameter to activate or not activate the hybrid part. And as certification, we cover both G3 PLC and the RF part. So the G3 PLC certification, so the G3 PLC hybrid certification is a full G3 PLC certification plus an RF part, which is say an additional
feature
functionality which is added to G3 PLC.
Yeah, yeah. And as you can see on the slide, therefore, we have added to the certification logos a small circle explaining how the hybrid is part of that certification. So it will be one certificate for the device, including the hybrid optional functionality. And also on the website where we publish all the certificates, there will be a column indicating which optional features are included in each certification. And that can be coherent modulation, as we already have, or it can be the hybrid feature, which will be added soon. Another question, Olivier, I'm sure you can answer that one. Will the platform family concept be extended to the hybrid as well? And maybe you need to explain a little briefly the hybrid, the platform concept, the family concept.
Yes, in general, the certification procedure for platform will be extended to support hybrid. So it's the case for the platform families. The idea is that we have determined some requirement in case you have one chip, one part number that has been certified, but you want also this certificate to be extended to cover also other part numbers which have very limited and strict changes compared to the certified one. For example, if you only added some internal components, or you added some memory, or you change something like this that will not have a strong impact, we can decide that we extend the coverage of the platform certificate to cover also other part numbers. So for the hybrid platform, it will be the same, but the requirement will cover both the RF and the PLC part. If you look at the test procedure, you have a specific chapter on this topic that clearly explains which are these requirements, in particular for the lower layers, because we know that any change on the chip running the file layer or the I would say real-time part of the MAC layer can have some impact on the communication interoperability and performance.
Okay, thank you, Olivier. Another question from the platform manufacturers that passed the interoperability plugfest last year. Will all of them move quickly to the hybrid certification when it is opened? It's a good, interesting question. And we are currently discussing with all the 5 platform manufacturers who passed the plugfest last year when they will come to the certification labs for their platform certification. And we need to, from the Alliance, we need to coordinate that a little bit, because as you will understand, for the interoperability testing, we need at least 2 and preferably 3 different implementations at the same time to be certified and to get a good standard for the interoperability. So we are discussing with the platform manufacturers, and we will coordinate, but what I get back from them is that most of them will really soon after we open the certification program come to the labs for their certifications of their hybrid platforms in Senelec A band and also in FCC band, most likely. So we do expect that after we officially open the hybrid certification, we will soon have the first certified hybrid platforms. And that brings me a little bit to a next question. As a product manufacturer, when can we apply for certification? Thierry, I think.
Yeah, so certification will be open at the same time. So for platform and product, but of course you know that the first prerequisite, so the second prerequisite to apply for certification is that your platform is based on a certified, your product is based on a certified platform. So meaning that so as soon as the platform you use in your product is certified, then you will be able to apply for certification. Yeah. So you will have to wait for platform certification first and then apply for product certification. Okay, the administrative part can be done in parallel also. So if you know that your platform manufacturer is under process for certifying, maybe we could anticipate also the scheduling of the test for your product and contact directly the labs for that.
Okay, thank you, Thierry. Then a last question before we need to wrap up. I think that's not so much about certification, but about the performance of the hybrid solution. How does the hybrid solution deal with the harsh environments in grids? And for that question, I'd like to refer to the information we published on our website, on the G3 website. There is a specific page about the hybrid solution, and multiple manufacturers are working with the hybrid solution. They're doing trials, field tests, and there is a publication on the website summarizing the results of the hybrid solution in harsh conditions in the grid in Russia, if I remember correctly. So please take a look at the information on our website to read more about the field performance of the first hybrid implementations. Well, I think we covered most of the, or all of the questions. I think, and then looking at the time, I think we need to wrap up. If you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch with any of us. Specifically, if you want to know more about the Plugfest, contact Yannick from Trialog. Or if you want to know about testing at LAN in France, you can contact Thierry. And if you want to know more about the testing at TÜV in Japan, then here also is the contact information from Tran Tam from Japan. So I want to thank all the presenters very much for their presentations. And then lastly, Mark, I want to hand over to you as the chairman of the G3 PLC Alliance, if you want to wrap up or add anything.
Thank you very much. And as the time is over, I will be short. First, I would like to warmly thank all the speakers, you, Leon, General Secretary, but also people from Trialog and from LAN, but also from TÜV, who have been working hard for this certification process. I would like to remind the importance of the certification for any customer. It's a guarantee to have the correct implementation of the G3 PLC version, either for PLC or for hybrid version. It's also a guarantee of interoperability and a guarantee of performance. You now know all the process for the certification and for hybrid feature. It's a new option. It will start very soon in the coming days. first with platforms and then with full products. And thanks to this new option, G3 PLC will have a good tool to win markets in many parts of the world. It will be better to have a hybrid version, especially for harsh conditions with poor networks. So we have a solution covering all the requirements for all the customers, coming from America, North or South, from European countries, from Africa, but also from Asian countries. So I wish you all the best, and I wish you that thanks to this new hybrid version, the business will be good for everybody. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot to all the speakers, and take care. And I hope we will have soon a physical meeting, but I think we have to wait. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.